Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to our Ritenour Board of Education business meeting for October 12th, 2023. We will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. We have some students here from Ritenour High School. You will come up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Not everyone come in.
The first grade.
Those high schoolers.
Hold on. Stop.
They're coming.
Oh,
Sorry.
let's see. Modified.
Right. Hold. Okay, sit on just hold it to your side.
Color guard, forward, march! Mark time, march! Color guard, halt! Left, face! Present colors!
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, colors!
JROTC Cadet Creed on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I am an Army Junior ROTC cadet. I will always conduct myself to bring credit to my family, country, school, and the Corps of Cadets. I am loyal and patriotic. I am the future of the United States of America. I do not lie, cheat, or steal, and will always be accountable for my actions and deeds. I will always practice good citizenship and patriotism. I will work hard to improve my mind and strengthen my body. I will seek the mental leadership and stand prepared to uphold the Constitution and American way of life. May God grant me the strength to always live by this creed. Look!
Color guard, right, face! Forward, march!
Thank you, High School JROTC. We will move on to our School of the Month, Ritenour High.
Again, we want to thank our Junior ROTC program and the direction of Sergeant Jennings. Thank them for their assistance tonight with Pledge of Allegiance, with presenting their colors and then going over their creed. Our parents of our JROTC program students in the audience tonight? Anyone? Yes. Thank you. As the presentation is being loaded, go ahead and get started here. Right. Well, good evening again to everyone. Members of the Board of Education, Dr. Kilbride, and community. Tonight we will be discussing the benefit as well as the impact of the St. Louis Internship Program on our high school students' future endeavors. Tonight we have with us.
My name is Heidi Oyuga Cubas and I'm currently a junior at Ritenour High School. Me llamo Heidi Oyuga Cubas y soy estudiante de tercer año a la escuela secundaria de Ritenour.
My name is My name is Jamari London. I am currently a senior at Ritenour High School.
So the vision, mission, as well as the equity statement aligns with the purpose of the St. Louis Internship Program, which is to provide hope and opportunity for high school students within the St. Louis region through paid summer internships, intensive employability skills, year-round college and career planning in partnership with businesses and community organizations, and to build the St. Louis community by developing motivated, well-trained, and talented future employees.
With the growing complexity of the world and the increased demands of the 21st century workforce, SLIP is committed to ensuring that every intern graduates from high school fully prepared for colleges and careers. SLIP's ultimate goal is to create a pipeline of diverse, talented workers for the St. Louis region, which also aligns with district goals of enroll, employ, and enlist. In fact, since 1992, 98% of the SLIP interns have successfully acquired work readiness skills, graduated high school, and pursued post-secondary education and professional careers. With that is so, a brief overview of the program is as follows. SLIP is a program of Boys and Girls Club of Greater St. Louis. Their intensive employability training for high school students develops a pipeline of talented, diverse, and young professionals. Participants will explore careers path, develop interviewing skills, earn college credit, and receive a well-paid summer internship. I earned roughly $4,000 over this summer, and we will talk about my internship later in this presentation. SLIP is only for high school sophomores and juniors with a 2.0 or better GPA. Students must demonstrate good attendance, and for this school year, an application is due by December 1st.
SLIP application requirements. In addition to the SLIP application, online or paper applications, students must also submit 2 letters of recommendation, current high school transcript, personal statement of 300 word plus as a typewritten, copy of birth certificate, and a copy of their social security card. Here are some of the benefits of an internship: career exploration, leadership and skill development, build professional network, real-world experience, resume enhancement, and connect academics from the classroom to the workplace. An example of this would be a personal finance class, which is a requirement in Missouri to graduate. In the SLIP program, we all open bank accounts, and we learn more about money management and the difference between an asset and liability, needs versus wants. Through our participation, we engage with more than 50 regional employers and garnered more than 60 hours of pre-employment training. And if we meet all the requirements, we receive an internship that is structured and monitored by SLIP staff.
Prior to getting an internship, all participants in the applicant pool component attend 10 Saturday training sessions at the St. Louis University from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. In those sessions, we learn about job readiness and employability skills. They assess our performance weekly by Dress for Success and exhibit our professional demeanor. We also engage in professional development topics such as the resume writing, profile creation, interviewing skills, communication skills, business and social etiquette, as well as the workplace simulations.
And members of the Board of Education, there is an example of one of the portfolios that's up there with you all this way.
So, as a part of the St. Louis internship program, I am a part of the St. Louis internship program, and I had the great opportunity to intern at the St. Louis DePairs Emergency Department for the summer. In addition to my studies, I'm currently involved in sports and started taking dual crediting classes. My career goal after high school is to earn a bachelor's degree in biomedical engineer so I can work towards developing innovative solutions to help many people live their best lives. And I believe that all our internships are help to navigate students through careers to know for sure that this is what they want to do. And for that reason, my time at the St. Louis internship program has given me a clear understanding that this is what I want to do. So tonight, I want to inform you all about my experience I had in the program and in the internship. I can say for sure that the St. Louis internship program is a very well structured and it taught me valuable skills related to the workforce. Over the course of 10 weeks, I was introduced to professionalism and taught by professional individuals. I learned to build a resume, prepare interviews, and develop employability skills. Not only that, I was also offered other programs such as the Architectural Constructional Engineering Program, also known as ACE. And ACE was founded in 1992, and since then, it was helping and supporting high school students to pursue careers in architectural, constructional, and engineering industry, which is a great program, and I really, really think that, and I'm very glad to be in the program. And I earned also college credit from the TLCC. In all, the St. Louis internship program helped me become more professional and capable of a young person, and I'm grateful for the experience and the skills I gained. Last summer, I worked at the St. Luke's Repairs Emergency Department, and my main responsibility was to ensure that all supplies were stocked so nurses can work efficiently. All the staffs in the facilities were very kind and patient with me. I was able to connect with them all and learn about their career journeys. Many of them encouraged me and made me feel more confident in what I want to do. Even though my ideal career choice is not to become a professional healthcare, it made me appreciate their hard work and dedication. Building relationship with patients and staff helped me discover I want to pursue a career in assisting and protecting people. With that, I am also thinking of joining the Army.
My two internships includes the Boys and Girls Club and my latest internship at Gateway Global American Youth Business Alliance Association. My career aspirations is to be a business owner. During my time in the St. Louis internship program, I have completed 2 internships. My first internship was at the Boys and Girls Club, watching over different age groups and working with the kids and making sure that I had a great summer experience at their summer camp. My latest internship was at Gateway Global, and there I took a course learning about geospatial intelligence. After completing this course, I took the USGIF exam. USGIF stands for United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation, and it's an exam. After successfully completing this exam, I got my USGIF certificate. This certification allows me to apply to work or to get an internship at organizations such as the NGA, which stands for National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. At SLIP has provided me to grow professionally and has also helped me with knowing the right things to do to not only keep my internship, but to continue to open doors for me and other people by spreading the word of St. Louis internship program. And it also has helped me to gain the experience that is needed for me and for my career aspirations to become a reality. In addition to the places we interned at, on the slides are also some of the participating employers of St. Louis internship program.
And members of the Board of Education as well as community, you see these lovely outfits that they have on. This is their uniform and they are sharp. This is for the most part how our students go to work, unless the employer requests something different. But for the most part, this is the uniform that they will go to work in, so they don't have to worry about going to buy clothing to go to work. The program provides them with that.
Lo admito, la programa y las prácticas fueron desafiantes. Sin embargo, fue una gran oportunidad de aprender. No solo nos ayudó a tener un buen enfoque en nuestros futuros objetos profesional, también nos ayudó a tener una buena comprensión en lo que queremos hacer. Por eso les doy las gracias por su tiempo y la oportunidad a presentar a esta noche. Y gracias a las juntas de educación por permitir a la escuela secundaria de Ritenour a tener parte en este asombroso programa. Y a este tiempo responderemos cualquier pregunta que ustedes tienen. I'll admit, the program and the internship was very challenging. However, it was a great opportunity to learn. Not only did it help us have a better focus in our future career goals, it helped us have a better understanding of what the workforce is like. So for that, I want to thank you all for the time and opportunity you guys have given us this evening. And thank you for the Board of Education for allowing Ritenour High School to be a part of this amazing program. At the time, we will answer any questions you might all have.
Wow.
This is awesome. I am so glad that you guys came tonight and presented this to us. I think it was a good timing for us to have something uplifting like this for us. This is just incredible. Can I ask how many students do we have in this program for the high school?
So this past cohort, I believe there was right at about 7 students in the program, and as Mr. London has indicated, this was his second year. So his first internship was with the Boys and Girls Club, and oftentimes employers will ask for an older student, and because he did an exceptional job, they asked him to come back. Right before we got over here this evening, Ms. Bowler was meeting with a group of parents as well as a group of students. There was a 1 o'clock meeting with them to talk to them about the St. Louis internship program. She had about 40 RSVP. I don't think 40 families show, but we're hoping that we can increase that number this year to 15 to 20 students.
That'd be awesome.
Do you talk to your peers and tell them about your experience and encourage them to join?
Mike, start right here.
Regarding sharing my experience with St. Louis internships with my peers, after my first year in my first summer at St. Louis internship program, I've also told my friends my experience there, the 10 weeks in training, and also what I've got out of the program. Also, I've explained my experience a little bit more after the people from St. Louis internship came to Ritenour High School for their assembly for the sophomores and juniors. Also, that opened a door for me to talk about my experience a little bit more with other people.
Well, Mr. London, looking through your portfolio there, I was like, you should take that into your job interview no matter how old you get, because that is well put together and really shows your dedication and your commitment to like who you are. So that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Since this school year started, I have a few friends who I told, and I was like, hey, I'm going into this internship, and I think that you should come with me. And they were like, well, I don't think I'll be able to do all these requirements that I have to do. But then later on, I told them my experience, and they're really thinking about joining the St. Louis internship program now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I commend you and the program, because many times, even when I've had job openings, sometimes they're amazed that I will request a resume, and then they're trying to put one together. Or, yeah, we need to have an interview, and to have that opportunity, because that is real life. When you go out in the world and you apply for a job, something that you want to be able to have those skills. Whether it's to become a teacher, whenever you're coming into a district, whether you're applying somewhere else. So I think that is a wonderful combination, and it's scary. So my question to you is, both of you, how did it feel to get interviewed? I saw that you got graded, so I'm hoping that there was a learning experience that was associated with that too.
Okay. So I think my first time being interviewed was actually somebody asked me for my elevator pitch, is elevator pitches aren't really regarded as a full interview, but I kind of counted it as it because a person asks you a question about yourself and what you do and your skills. So I think that was my first experience. Somebody asked me for my elevator pitch, and I wasn't prepared for it my first time. And I think that was about my first 2 weeks in the St. Louis internship when that happened. After a full 10 weeks, I have gotten confident with doing interviews with the people, not only at SLIP, but also strangers that have asked me to do an interview or if I wanted to do another job at a certain place. And I didn't feel but it's not.
So I never had a job before or an internship. So this internship that I had to do an interview so I'll be able to do my internship. And I was very nervous. And luckily the internship and everyone was helping me to prepare for it. So I had Ms. Anderson, one of my homeroom teachers, and they were helping me to be prepared for the interview, and we were going over the elevator pitches and what to bring to an interview and how to dress for something like that. And my interview went pretty well, and I am very grateful for that.
Thank you. Most definitely want to say great job on the work that you're doing and keep up that work. I do have one question. If there was one lesson that you've learned thus far in this process, what would you say that was?
Seems to be a pattern
One lesson I have learned in an internship, besides the professional lessons that I've learned about always being appropriate, wearing the right clothes for an interview, pronunciating words, and speaking up. One of the main lessons that I've learned that wasn't professional was to not be afraid to do certain things. Not to be afraid during the interview, not to be afraid doing something like a board meeting, not being afraid of taking the chance to do certain opportunities that other people don't get to do.
Even though this wasn't a lesson, I would say that confidence was ultimately what I learned from that program, because before I joined, I was very timid and very shy and I couldn't speak up, but I feel like I learned a lot from the program, and one of them is self-confidence.
And I would say that's evident for both of you. Most definitely stepping up and taking a risk and doing something that maybe some of your other peers are not doing, and then being confident in doing it. So great job.
You know, they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. I don't know that that's always true. But I would say tonight that this is the first time I've spent any time with either of you. You've made a very positive first impression on me, specifically around confidence, poise, your ability to make eye contact, your ability to clearly convey your thoughts and ideas. I'm just very proud of the growth and who you are as people. Look forward to getting to know you even better and the work that you're going to be doing in the future. Thank you for being here.
Can we have the parents stand up for our students? Parents and family members. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We will move on to 3.3, public comments. The board invites citizens, staff, and students to attend its meetings in order to become better acquainted with the schools, so that the board may have Opportunity to hear concerns, requests, and suggestions from members of the Ritenour School community. Public comments are normally scheduled at all of our business meetings. No more than 30 minutes are generally allotted for public comments. We do have 2 individuals who have submitted the form, completed the form for tonight's meeting to share public comments. We will limit that time frame to 5 minutes. Mr. Ken Crowder and Mayor Marty Little. Would you all like to come forward?
So let me address you from the table here. Thanks for having us this evening. Like I said, I'm Mayor Marty Little, City of Overland. I was sworn in last year, and I'm here with Mr. Ken Crowder. We have different points that we'd like to talk about tonight, but I think it's all good news for the community and district. And kudos to the 2 students that were sitting right here. They were a decade ahead of where I was at that time. So congrats to you, all of you, for your work you're doing, and for them for showing up and for presenting to you. So I'm a 2005 Ritenour grad, actually 4th generation Ritenour resident, 3rd generation grad, son of a Ritenour educator, a sibling of a Ritenour educator, and actually was a substitute teacher for a year after law school when the market tanked and nobody was hiring attorneys. So happy to be here, and the point for my presentation here tonight is to introduce you to some of the initiatives we've started in the past year and a half. One of my goals is to better connect the city with the school district. And I'm not the first person to say this, but our success really depends on each other. And so that's why I'm addressing you tonight, just to make you aware of some of the things we're doing, which includes incorporating a student representative to our board. We didn't come up with this idea, we stole it from you. So we took it and ran with it. And Kaylin Wooten is a senior at Ritenour, and she's actually serving with us. She started last month, and she's doing a fantastic job. So we're still trying to work out the kinks as to what that means. I think it's a much easier situation with the school board and a student representative, but I'm sure she's going to be the one to lay the groundwork and figure that out. One of the goals that I've stated very publicly for that position is, at some point, I want one of those students to sit in my seat. So whether we're 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I'd really like to get somebody involved when they're that young to learn about city government. In high school, you learn about civics and Congress and Supreme Court and president. You don't learn all that much about local government and what we do. And a lot of that is where the rubber hits the road. So quite literally, streets, policing, administration, business licensing, all of that goes through local government, and glad to have a student rep learn a little bit about what that means and take that with her as she proceeds in life. So another thing we're working on is what I'm deeming, and it's the first public announcement of this, it's called the R9. So I kind of stole that name. It's like the G7 or the G20 with national and international politics. Calling it the R9 because it's the 9 cities within Ritenour. And so we're aiming to meet probably 4 times a year and having one representative from each of those municipalities get together. We're going to host the first one, I'm aiming for January. And so any coordination from you all will be appreciated. Just to get us all together, because I know we're working on items that are reflective of the community and important for all of us. One more note here, going along with the summer internship they just talked about through the SLIP program, we started what's called the Overland Summer Engagement Program. And this is a brand new program we started this past summer, which is, the number's still TBD depending on applicants, but between 5 and 8 full-time summer internships. So we previously did this with the street department, and folks would come out and do some physical labor, but we're opening this up for administrative work, parks work, everything that the city does to introduce folks to that type of employment and to give them a strong boost to their resume when they move on to college and such. So those are the 4 big ones that I had for tonight, but happy to introduce those to you all, and I'm fortunate to know most of you here, but if you didn't know me before tonight, now you know who I am. Come talk to me, email me, call me. Happy to chat about what we're doing here. So thanks for the time. You guys get 5 minutes. We only get 3. You're much nicer than we are. Glad to be here. And Mr. Crowder has some other events announcements for you this evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming up.
What an audiovisual picture of a young gentleman I'm going to talk about.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Casey, how are you?
Thank you.
You know, I can remember coming down the hallway just outside this door, applying for a job at Ritenour. And I got the job, and I stayed 40 years. So to be here this evening, you know, it feels very good to be in a Ritenour building. It's kind of like coming home from Thanksgiving. But I want to tell you about the young man here that I just handed you a photograph of. And I'm going to take you back to the 29th of May, 1944. A squadron of B-17 bombers were given the assignment to fly over Germany and to soften up the enemy for the soon-to-come D-Day. This airplane that he was in was a crew of 10. It was a flying fortress, and this gentleman was the bombardier. The plane was struck by all kinds of flak and crashed. Of the 10 crew members, 6 parachuted to safety, 4 were killed on impact, 3 were found and buried in a military cemetery. This gentleman could not be found and could not be retrieved. That went on for years and years. In 1945, for legal reasons, he was declared dead. In 1953, his body was declared unrecoverable. And then the rumors started. And it's going to bring us up to 2012. And there was a rumor that there was wreckage of a B-17 in a rural area in Germany. Now, there's years of delay because during the Cold War, that was controlled by Russia, and they wouldn't let anybody in there. But anyway, this rumor got stronger and stronger, and by 2019, the United States sent in a rescue team to look at this to see if there's any truth to the matter that there was an airplane hidden in the woods. Well, there was. And using circumstantial evidence, DNA, things found at the scene, they identified this gentleman that you're looking at, First Lieutenant Melvin B. Meyer. Now get this. They found his Catholic rosary under his skeleton. They found his pocket knife. They found his military Bible. They found his driver's license still legible. I have a picture of it in my phone. This young man you're looking at, folks, First Lieutenant Melvin B. Meyer, was from Overland, Missouri. Went to Ritenour. This is a Ritenour kid. Does it give you the goosebumps? He's working on me. So we have invited 21 of his family members to come back to a special day dedicated to his memory on the 13th of November. The VFW, not the American Legion, the VFW west of Ashby with the helicopter. They have invited the family and people with invitations, and that's the reason I'm here, because we're inviting the school board to come and celebrate this man's Americanship, patriotism, and it's going to be a day like no other in our community. You know, I taught American history. I don't know of a story quite like this. I don't know of a story quite like this. So what we're going to do on that morning, November the 13th, in a motorcade, Artman's Funeral Home is providing a motorcade of limousines. We're taking the family to the memorial stone at the high school. Melvin's name is already inscribed on it.
Yes, it is.
Then we're going to take the family to 2 little bungalow houses that they have never seen. One on Eminence, one on Hume, where this young man lived and went to Ritenour. We're going to stop in front of those houses and pause for like 3 minutes and then move on. Then we're going to circle around to the VFW Hall, and that is where I hope most of you can be there to have dinner with us to meet the family, and to share more stories. So that's the reason I'm here, is to invite you officially, as members of the Ritenour Board of Education, to be with us at the VFW, November the 13th. You need to be there at 11 a.m. Any questions? Is that not quite a story?
Mr. Crowder, thank you so much for looking that up, because the moment that I heard that he was from Overland, I drove straight up to the high school, and his name was right there.
That's right. The family's never seen that, Stacy. They've never seen the two houses.
He would have gone to school with my dad and my mom.
That's right. Now, we're going to have to tell them, that's not the building where he would have went. That was 8740 Forest, where I went to after I got the job down the hall. Okay? So, I wish your dad could be, he'd be invited that day. He was my buddy. Any questions?
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for letting me share it. Brad, you got to be there that day. I know you're a
I
teacher.
have nothing else to do then.
You're looking at a guy that missed one day in 40 years as a teacher, and you're a teacher. If I was going to miss a day.
Oh, my students will know about it the next day.
Thank you very much, folks.
I'll give them the history.
Honored to be here with you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, sir.
Still teaching history. Right. Still teaching. That's incredible. So we will move on to 4.1, our president's report. So the Ritenour High School Pepper Box Award. For the third time in the last 4 years, the Pepper Box, Ritenour High School's student newspaper, earned the Quill and Scroll 2023 International First Place honor for issues produced during the 2022-2023 school year. It is a prestigious honor. There are only 14 other schools that receive international first place honors. The Quill and Scroll judges shared very positive comments about the students' outstanding journalism skills. One judge said, "Your writing style is gloriously conversational. You're doing exceptional work, showing courage and compassion towards your peers and the world around you. Your content is diverse and relevant. Excellent work here. Stay focused, continue being real." We are honored to have members of the Pepper Box team with us here tonight. Thank you for being amazing representatives of the Ritenour High School and our district. We are so proud of you.
Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Ron Steinschreiber. I'm the newspaper advisor at Ritenour. This is Haley Thornburg. She is a senior, we've got all seniors. Design editor-in-chief and photography editor. Allison Madrid is our opinions editor, and Mariana Mohammed is our arts and entertainment editor.
Can you talk a little bit about the process, the awards competition?
Sure. So Pepperbox is entirely student-run, so my job as the advisor is to lead them in the best direction I can. They're the ones who are responsible for all the content, so that the comments about the voice that we have, the word altruistic came up 3 or 4 times in the critique, and that was something that I took a lot of pride in. We are a group that cares about our community, that is trying to provide information for the community, and that is a big deal for us. We do also tries to be a really welcoming environment. One of the new students we got this year said he wanted to come in because the word around the school was that we were a group that was welcoming, diverse, representative of the entire school district. And so we always try to kind of find that balance between serving the community and aiming for awards. We think we've found that balance now, as the judges are impressed with the ability that we can even take international news or national news and bring it back to Ritenour and make that matter.
It's amazing.
How did that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how do you get your inspiration to write? And sometimes you can get like writer's block, or find a topic particularly difficult. So how do you keep yourself inspired, and where do you get your motivation from, or your inspiration?
Personally,
I like when, as a newspaper, we sit down and we all converse and share our ideas of what we want to put in there, what stories we want to write about, what's relevant to our school and the people in it, and our district and our community. And we sit down and we talk and we share all of those ideas together, so it's easier for us to come up with things as a whole rather than just individually.
Absolutely. Like going off of what Haley said, deciding what we're writing about, it never feels like a chore because we work together. And so we get the tasks that we're passionate about. And me personally, as an opinion writer, you know, I get to put some of my opinion in the newspaper. So I get inspiration from like what's going on in the community around me. Like last year, I wrote a piece about Qatar and migrant workers relating to the FIFA games. And I also was turning 17 at that time, and I was working through the existentialism during that time.
I'd say for my editor position, being like the art and entertainment editor, usually I get the opportunity to write about more, I guess, entertaining things. So it's like things that usually happen that people are more drawn to. I guess like people like stuff in the media maybe. Like I wrote about how Rihanna performed at the Super Bowl while she was pregnant also. But I just think some of my topics are kind of fun to write about, so it makes it a bit easier for me to think about what I want to say.
Who's thinking about pursuing journalism in college? Yeah. Do you have an idea of which school you're thinking about?
I've narrowed it down to the 8 schools I applied to. Mizzou, it's our journalism school, along with Webster University, and potentially Linden Board.
Fabulous.
And we do have alumni at both Mizzou and Webster.
Fabulous.
You know, one of the hardest things for all of us is to have someone critique our work. How do you deal with that?
You want to be honest about that? They love the positive reviews. When we get to the actual critique, we have to really talk through it and kind of talk about why they're telling us what can be updated. I know design was the only category that we didn't get superior in, and that would have led us to being one of the top 10 high school newspapers in the country. And Haley took that as almost like a personal challenge. That she's the design editor now, we are going to make sure we get to that superior mark.
It is always hard for someone to read our work and then give us honest feedback when we really don't want it. But it's good and it makes us better. You know, we could then reflect on what we've written and what they're telling us, as long as they're doing it in a positive way. And if you have a group that can do that'll just elevate everything that you do.
Are you guys still doing prints?
Yes, we do 4 print issues a year, 4 special editions that are digital, and then this year we brought back the media guides. We did it for fall sports, we'll do it for each season, where we get pictures of every athlete, get a little piece of information about them, and push those out to the parents so that they can see all of our athletes around the building.
Can you send some prints up here?
Yes, definitely.
I think it would be good, so when we come in, we can actually get them and see them.
Yeah.
I go online, so you guys can go online too.
Yes, RitenourLive.org, we have all of our stuff up there.
Yep.
And that's where we share with the radio and TV as well.
So they read your things on radio?
No, the website is, we all put work onto the website, so it's a site that's for all of the media at the high school.
No, I personally, I love the Pepper Box. The Pepper Box was being published when I was in Ritenour High School. That was quite a while ago. And the last 12 years I've had grandkids at the high school, and I was always telling them, well, when you see this Pepper Box, bring me a Pepper Box home. One of them said to me, "What's the Pepper Box?" And I said, "Well, you better find out. It's part of Ritenour's, rich history, and, it's something you should know about. Even if you're not going to be in journalism, I mean, it's interesting stuff to read, they do a good job, and it's interesting to read, so, yeah, I really enjoyed reading that.
Another
Hold
piece
on
of.
to them too.
Oh,
Yeah, I still have my mother's from 1942, 43, 44, 45, 46. And so they even used to do the wills, senior wills at the end. And so her twin brother and sister were behind her. So she literally left things, and I still have that. So yeah, no, it's a wonderful.
We actually
thing to
brought
see.
that back. We have a senior digital edition, and we don't call it wills anymore. It's heirlooms, senior heirlooms. Yeah, so it's seniors passing things down. And historically too, last year was the 100th year of the Pepper Box. So it was.
We will continue with our president's report. The Ritenour Pride and Promise Foundation Trivia Night. We're excited to announce its 11th annual Trivia Night on Friday, November 10th, 2023 at the St. Anne Community Center. Doors will open at 6 p.m. and the event begins at 7 p.m. All proceeds will support the education of the children in the Ritenour School District. The cost is $25 per person or $200 for a table of 8. Beverages, refreshments, and snacks will be provided. To purchase a table or sponsor the event, please visit the foundation website at www.ritenourfoundation.org and click on the Trivia Night link. We hope that you can join us for this important and fun event. I would most definitely say the Pride and Promise Foundation support a lot of the initiatives that we have in our district, and this is one of their major fundraisers. So hope to see everybody there. We're going to move on to 4.2, our superintendent's report. Dr. Kilbright.
Thank you, Ms. Clever-Jones. So board members, we have Maggie Bannister and Gabby Sanders. So Maggie and Gabby, would you please come up to the table? Thank you so much for being with us tonight. So board members, this is, the open meeting certainly has been a night of superlatives. So there's a lot of great things that are going on in the district, a lot of great things going on at Ritenour High School, and this is continuing with that theme. So board members, we're excited to welcome 2 Ritenour National Champions to the meeting tonight. We're joined by Ritenour High School juniors Maggie Bannister and Gabby Sanders. Both Maggie and Gabby won the national championship in the high school halftime division at the 2023 National Baton Twirling Association competition held at Notre Dame in July. Turn it over to you to talk about your experience at Notre Dame, and then board members, I'll fill in the other pieces.
Okay, so this is the first time Ritenour's ever had a team compete at any competition. So it was just us getting used to, competing as a team. We had competed last year and we had gotten second place. So we just wanted to come back and win. So we had won at state with the same routine. So we compete 2 routines together as a team. So we won at state and then went to nationals and we got first place in halftime and then we got second place in the dance floor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we heard from Maggie. Gabby, what do you have to share?
Real quick, parents, you can come up here
Yeah.
if you want to record. You're more than welcome to come up here behind us. Since when are you shy? Just saying.
I don't understand how much we record these 2. We're good.
We're the whole camera. It was definitely a huge thing for us. We were super excited coming out of middle school to just start straight into baton twirling at the high school because it was always something that we looked forward to and we still look forward to in college. So it's just so exciting, especially for a high school to have 3 twirlers and to compete at that level. So it was just a really good experience for us and really excited to win. I also have another comment. It wasn't just us 2. There was a Ritenour now alumni, Nico, and then someone that lived in the Ritenour district that school did not have twirling, Colin Schuessler. So there was 4 of us that did compete for the title.
Fabulous. So board members, you can catch the Ritenour feature twirlers performing with the Ritenour Marching Band in local parades during half times during the football season. It's an incredible honor. So happy that you're a part of the Ritenour family. Thank you for representing us so well.
So is it okay if we have the family stand up of the twirler system?
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So we will move forward. Our student representative is unable to be with us tonight, so we will move forward to 4.4 MSBA and SBA report.
How am I supposed to follow that? I know. Come on, y'all, we need a routine or something. Oh, golly. Okay. We're gonna watch
the October edition of the Missouri.
We're gonna watch the report, but I just wanted to note that one thing I did want to talk to our representative up at MSBA about was the lobbying day, because I know that's something that we had flagged this year of how late it was, and I noticed that it's late again. So I just wanted to inquire more about that and just kind of see what the rationale is there. So I just wanted to let you all know that that's something I was wanting to do during the conference and before. So also the legislative session starts January 4th. So even though that's a ways away, I know that a big part of this is just continuing our relationships with our representatives. So I've reached out to Kevin Windham and some of our other reps just to say hello. We're so glad you've been supportive, and with whatever is going to be filed in December, we're ready for it, and that we just stand united for our students and for public education. So, all right, with that, we will watch the hopefully not glitchy video.
Missouri School Boards Association's board report. We begin with a look at filing for the next school board election, which is only a couple months away. There are many things districts can do between now and the start of filing to prepare. MSBA's Director of Board Development, Catherine Whitaker, says that this is a great time to start communicating with the community about the upcoming election process.
So candidate filing doesn't open until December. So you have technically 2 months to let your community know that you do have an opening on the school board potentially. You have time to let them know what it looks like to be a school board member, what does it mean to file, how do you file, and just to give them information about your school district in general. We've created a presentation that superintendents, board presidents can use to inform the community about their school district as a whole, and then also about what it means to be a school board member.
Whitaker also says that MSBA has numerous resources to help potential school board candidates from filing to election.
So on our website, we have a ton of information, some written by lawyers so that they know how to appropriately file and run a campaign, but some written by us, just again, trying to outline what does it look like to be a school board member, what does it feel like to be a school board member, what are your responsibilities. So we've created a module for candidates that school districts can sign up for and then give the login information to those candidates. So they can go in and have a better understanding of, now that you're a candidate and you filed, what does it look like to be a school board member? It's interactive, gives a lot of information about the state and what it means to be a school board member.
Visit the MSBA website for all of the resources and training modules available to school boards and potential candidates. The start of the next legislative session is also just around the corner. MSBA's Director of Governmental Relations, Brant Shields, says that the upcoming Fall Delegate Assembly is the chance to have your voice heard on issues surrounding public education as we head toward the next legislative session.
Coming up later this fall is our Fall Delegate Assembly, held on the Friday of annual conference. This is an important opportunity to have your district's voice heard in setting education policy for the state of Missouri. Every member of MSBA is guaranteed at least one delegate in our assembly. Now is a great time to make sure that your delegate's contact information is up to date with MSBA, so they receive the latest news and information for the delegate assembly. As we said earlier, legislative session is just around the corner, beginning Wednesday, January 3rd. Make sure you are signed up for MSBA's Legislative Voice newsletter, published weekly during session, for the latest information and advocacy actions to help you advocate for your students in Jefferson City. As elected officials, your voice is crucial for MSBA to succeed in our legislative goals for the benefit of our students.
And as Brant said, the Fall Delegate Assembly will be held during the Friday of Annual Conference. If you haven't registered for the conference yet, it's not too late. The 2023 MSBA Annual Conference, in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators and the Missouri Association of School Business Officials, will be held November 2nd through the 4th in Kansas City. The event will once again feature numerous breakout sessions and workshops, many presented by school leaders from districts throughout the state, along with a great lineup of general session speakers. The conference will also feature the Education Expo, the Student Showcase, and much more. Visit the MSBA website for more information. That's it for this month. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and we'll see you in November for the next MSBA.
Cool. So I did just want to highlight a couple of things too from the MSBA email that I thought was interesting. So one, there is the MSBA advocacy positions document, which I've been reading through. It's 36 pages, so just a little light reading for that. But if you have if there's anything that you want to discuss before the delegate assembly, obviously let's do that. And then the second thing was the school finance webinar series. That's something I'm going to sign up for. I just thought it was really interesting and also necessary for me to have a better understanding of stuff. Some of the topics on there are making and communicating the budget plan, writing and communicating the budget message and document, just lots of really interesting topics and things that I thought we could use as a refresher. So that is happening at November through April, and we can register with different. So just wanted to highlight that. And that concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you. We will move on to 4.5, Special School District Report. Mr. Robinson.
So we had, September 25th was a just exciting 3.5 hour governing council meeting, because it was the first meeting of this governing council, so they had all of the orientation and so all of the just really interesting things. And as I looked at this, you go ahead and flip a couple of screens for me. When I looked at our equity statement, and the thing that jumped out was students' backgrounds, their abilities, but it doesn't limit our teachers' expectations of our students' outcomes. And when we look at our students that receive services from SSD, is being reminded that they are, too many times we go, oh, they're SSD. No, they're our students first. And then they receive additional services. And I don't know about you, but what this additional support I need on Friday is a lot different than the support I need on Monday. So, each one of us has additional supports that are needed. You go ahead and go to the next screen. Just as a reminder, it just kind of helpful to always be in remembrance that when they redistrict 2 years ago, we kind of changed our sub-district a little bit. So we're now with Ladue, Normandy, Ritenour, and University City. So that is the sub-district for Ritenour. And then they spent a lot of time going over, you go ahead and go to the next slide, to their new CSIP. Kind of hard to read, so you'll be able to see it on community, but focusing on their organizational goals and their documents, being sure that they are being more transparent with their documents, being more conscious of it, and being sure that we're all signing them and getting them back, as we saw with the board, the partnership agreement this time. They've added that the governing council person needed to sign. So just being sure that those are being discussed in all of the districts. So that, again, this one was it was long, but it was not very information filled because it was the orientation night. So our next meeting is on December the 4th. So that's all I have, unless somebody has questions.
Thank you. We will move on to our business items. So 5.1, construction updates. Mr. Michael Smith.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, highly effective facilities are important for us to meet our mission and vision. Our facilities should provide the best physical environment for learning to occur, and all district schools should provide consistent and equitable learning environments. I'll speak with you about two items tonight. That is an audiovisual upgrade project for the Ritenour High School auditorium, lower lobby, and art gallery, as well as RTU replacement at two schools. First, speak about the lower lobby and art gallery AV upgrade. The auditorium area at Ritenour High School. That area is used for high-profile meetings, trainings, and presentations, and those spaces should have audiovisual displays that are more appropriate for professional presentations. If approved, we would install two 98-inch display screens in the lower lobby, and we would have an 85-inch display screen in the art gallery, as well as two 65-inch display screens also in the art gallery. The project would include those displays which could show the same content or separate content if desired. Include an upgraded audio processor, as our current one is no longer supported. Sound from presentations would be projected through the auditorium and art gallery speakers. Extensive wiring is needed to meet those needs, and that project, the system would be expandable to accommodate future needs. We reached out to three companies, two of which responded. That was Room Ready and Netcom. Room Ready provided the low bid of $73,165, and therefore I'm recommending that the board accept the quote of $73,165 for AV upgrades at the Ritenour High School auditorium, lower lobby, and art gallery, and that is from Room Ready. I'm more than happy to answer questions.
I believe it was our student representative that asked, when the installation occurs, how would that impact our lunch and our daily
It would not impact lunch and the daily procedures that occur in that area. We wouldn't do anything that would disrupt the lunches in that area. Now, they might be working behind the scenes, putting things into the walls, but they wouldn't be doing anything above the students, above the lines during any type of, while it was occupied by students. It would be done outside of that time, whether it's in the morning, after lunches, or even after hours if needed.
So real quick, you had the two bids, same quality, even though the one is lower, you feel comfortable with that?
Very much so.
Okay. Can I go ahead? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the quote of $73,165 for the audiovisual upgrades at the Ritenour High School auditorium, lower lobby, and art gallery.
I second.
Mrs. Enriquez, yes. Mr. Eaton?
No.
Dr. Allen Wilson?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown? Yes. And I vote yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I will speak about RTU replacement at Iveland and Wyland. There are two rooftop units, one at Iveland and one at Wyland, that require replacement. They're giving us significant issues, and they are 32 years old. Amoresco is working with us to finalize our district-wide RTU replacement plan, but those two units must be ordered soon because they have a long lead time. In addition, at Wyland, there are 3 other RTUs that are close enough by, they can be reached by, with the same crane when we would replace that library unit. We are adding those 3 RTUs to the scope in order to reduce labor and crane costs at a future date. Those are units that we would plan on replacing anyway. Amoresco has quoted $408,400 to replace those 5 rooftop units. The project will be paid for using ESSER 3 funds, and I'm recommending that the board accept the quote of $408,400 to replace 1 RTU at Island and 4 RTUs at Wyland. I'm happy to answer questions.
And the lead times for these things are still outrageous.
So that would get us right around spring, right around when we're going to be doing that switch over back to cooling. So we'll be in good shape as long as those lead times hold true.
So any pipe work or anything that needs to be done along with this?
No, it's a straight one for one replacement.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And I can't remember, are we gonna, so that work will be going on during the school day, right? Or
Generally, that's a great question. Generally, when we do crane work on schools, we do that outside of student occupied times. And so that's something that we're hoping that the time frame falls in spring break.
Yeah.
And so we can make that replacement. But we don't like taking those heavy objects over schools when the schools are occupied.
Yeah.
They do it in a very safe way, but we don't want to take any risks.
Yeah. Okay, so so we're hoping it will happen, but what's the contingency plan in case it's not during spring?
Well, then it would have to be done after hours or on an early release day when they would, be able to get a little bit of an earlier start. But I would never recommend that something like that would occur while students are there.
Yeah.
Now, attaching the equipment, obviously we could do that, but actually lifting the units onto the roof, we don't do that during student hours. A lot of times we will also get a very early start in the morning and place those units before students arrive.
Does this also include the maintenance, or is that something that we'll be doing in-house?
No, rooftop units are able to be maintained by our staff.
Okay.
Madam President, I move that we accept the recommendation of the quote, $408,400 to replace 1 rooftop unit at Highland and 4 rooftop units at Wyland.
Second? Mrs. Lamas?
Yes.
Mrs. DeGarden?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Alvin Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Eden?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez Pinball?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to 5.2, our board communication goals. Mr. Doug Gray.
Well, good evening, board members. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk to you about your board communication goals. It's actually pretty awesome that Mayor Little is here as well, because everything sort of ties into the communication goals in terms of our outreach to the community and our local municipalities. So everything's sort of copacetic this evening in terms of like pulling this all together, which is really good. Effective, transparent, and consistent communication is vital for us to reach our vision, mission, and equity statements. So with the board's assistance, we've developed a communication plan, and I've sort of like summarized it in this goal to make it more in line with the way that we use our process. And as a reminder, I get super excited about talking about this, but we call it the RPI process. So that's all part of communications and public relations. So it's research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So it's a continuous cycle that we're always doing. I get super excited about it, and it's interesting for me because I've done this for a really long time now, and my mind just works in the RPI format. So when people like bring something up to me or a question, it automatically thinks, well, where's the research behind that? And then we start planning, implementation, and evaluation stages. So sometimes it happens really fast. Sometimes the planning takes like years, you know, it just depends on like what the strategy is. So overall though, the board's goal that we've sort of talked about is being known in the St. Louis region for effective governance and community services. So this is where like part of the discussion that I was hoping to have with the board tonight on the next slide is to sort of talk about the communication plan and sort of help us sort of fill in some of those areas so that we can help you as part of your plan. And just putting some real like data and some real numbers to the communication plan, so it's something that we can measure, and then something that we can evaluate, and then we can improve upon. We can continuously improve upon that. And so I just had a couple of questions. I sort of left it as like almost like a fill in the blank. So just as part of the process, this is the P in the process. So we've sort of gone through the research process over the past few years. Now we're in the P, so the planning process. And so we just ask ourselves, like, what are our objectives? And so, you know, I put in my notes here, actually, Mary Little's comments tie in really well. And, you know, just looking at the R9, you know, like that opportunity for all of our community like to come together. It's just like, so it seems like very copacetic in terms of to be able to pull all our communication goals together. But really, as part of this, we just need your help in helping to make some of those decisions of like how many, like what are the standards that you would want to set for your communication goals. So the questions that I would ask are, how many events would the board, you as a board, individually or as a collective group, like to attend each month? And then also same thing with our local municipal meetings. As a board, how would you like to, how many would you like to attend each month? And it can be individually, it could be as a board, it's really up to you in terms of the way that we would look at that. And just for full disclosure, later in the presentation, I'll show you a tool that will make it really easy for you to be able to track all of this. So we'll be able to not only go to the events, but you'll have a tool that you'll be able to track, and so I can share that with you. It's sort of later, so it didn't fit into the planning process. So I really needed like to sort of talk to you about the numbers up front. But like in my notes, I said, you know, municipal meetings can be any local city council meetings. Any of the events that we're talking about when I talk about by attending, some of these events you may naturally already attend. You know, they could be concerts, they could be school events, PTO meetings, like charitable events like the Ritenour Pride and Promise Foundation Trivia Night that everyone is invited to on November 10th.
That was a shameless.
I kept that in my notes. Begins its doors open at 6 p.m. If you're lucky, it'll be over by 9:30. Sometimes it'll end at 10. A good time to have by all. But you can also count that towards your board events that you would attend each year. So. So that's actually what I'd like. And then the last month, increasing satisfaction and performance rating in your annual community survey. I have some baseline data I can share with you. I will tell you, and I'll just preface it, which is not like the greatest data right now, so it's data that we can definitely improve upon in that last category. So I didn't include it on the slide, but the last survey that we did in the fall of last year, the board had a 41.4% positive rating on their job performance. Now that's to be said that it's a little bit low, but also we had 20% answer they didn't know. They had no idea like what was happening. And so this is really an opportunity for us to get out in the community, for you to like share the great things that are happening in our district and just to be involved in more sort of community events. And so usually when we're doing like a recommendation for like those, like the percentages, we say start small, like a 3 to 5% increase, and then sort of build from there. So you can choose to do that in a way like it could be yearly, it could be like a 3% and you want to improve 10% over the next 3 years. Or you can, so it's really up to you as a board, sort of what direction you would like to go with that in terms of like that as well. But the number, I will tell you that the last time we measured the board, like the board overall rating of the board, it was 61.3%. But also we only had like an 8% don't know. So and it just could be the way the survey was taken that year, and so we'll have to. That was the baseline that we had established this year though for that. So really, I just wanted to open up the floor now to see if you had any thoughts in terms of in terms of these numbers, or if it's something you would like me to come back to. If you'd like to talk about it as a board, and we can come back at another time to sort of like commit to these numbers as well.
I was going to say, I think that we definitely, obviously, have room for improvement. But sometimes I wonder if people just look at us as community members. Like, do you know what I mean by that? Like, we are a part of, I don't know.
I know I am.
But you know what I mean? Like, they don't necessarily look at us with the title of board when we're talking to them. They look at us as more of
like the community member. That's where I get to, like, the 20% saying, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, well, I wonder if they've actually talked to us. They don't know that they talked to us as a board member, because I don't introduce myself as Jennifer Loomis from the Ritenour Board of Education. You know, if people have questions, sometimes they'll talk to me, but they don't really, I don't know. So,
There's a lot of opportunity for us when we go out somewhere
yeah.
to do something as simple as, like we get the shirts that say Ritenour Board of Education member and things. Maybe if we were to wear something like that when we go out, when we introduce ourselves or get introduced, and sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to use you a little bit, when our mayor introduces us to someone, the way we should be responding is, I'm Brad Thomas, I'm from, I live in St. Anne, I'm a member of the Ritenour Board of Education, so that you can put that out there to them before they're wondering why I'm getting introduced to. So you can bring that up and do that. I try doing that a lot, but still, there's a lot to, as you say, there's a lot to improve, because we don't walk around with a hat that says, Board of Education member here.
Well, and I think there's also different strategies and like different communities that we're probably talking about too. Like I think of, well, my son Judah has been telling everybody that I'm part of the Ritenour School District. And I'm like, right, we all are. He's like, my friends are not impressed by that, Mom. Like, yeah. But, I think there's opportunity even just to like get in with high school students. Like when can we present to, maybe there's an opportunity there to talk about like what the school board does, and kind of the plans or how to get involved, or even, I know we have certain times when we talk about the student rep, but maybe there's some opportunity there, even with the pepper box, that they're sharing. So like different strategies and different communities that we're reaching out to as well, because I think, there's different kind of tactics or strategies for the people we're trying to reach.
I think one of the best ideas is even what you have, but I don't know if it's the right idea, just because it's another page, another Ritenour page, but like a Ritenour Board of Education page. Something that shows us out in the community and the things we're doing. So maybe it's a highlight instead of a whole nother page.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some time ago, we tried getting out to the community, and we would meet the board, and we'd have coffee, cookies, soft drinks, and whatnot at various schools. We'd have it at 5, 6 o'clock at night. That didn't work as well, because people had, they were going home. And then, how do we get them then to come back out? So at the end of that school year, instead of doing that, we took the tray of cookies and things, and we went to schools at dismissal time. And if anyone's been around any of our schools at dismissal time, there's a lot of parents sitting around waiting for their kids. So you have kind of a captive audience. So you walk around with a tray of cookies, and I am, would you like some cookies? The one thing about that we were reminded of is when the Board of Education goes somewhere, the superintendent goes there. The superintendent goes there, he brings all of his people to support the Board of Education. So it's not just 7 or 8 of us there, there's 15 or 16 of us there. So we gotta be mindful of how we do things, but maybe taking us back out on the road, as it were, and getting out of the boardroom and going to places like that, and taking ourselves to the people that we are serving. That'd be an idea.
Can I make a suggestion? I asked on the Ritenour Moms page last month why parents don't attend the board meetings, and they find it really hard to find when the board meetings are and where they are. So even maybe a social media presence or somebody that can go on those pages. I put it out there when the meetings were for the rest of the year, but that may be something too, because they don't know. I don't think a lot of the parents know who you are, or how to even find out when meetings are and things, so maybe that's something that could help.
appreciate your comments. We do try to limit public comments, but thank you for that. I do know one of the things, just kind of piggybacking off of some of the comments that have been shared tonight, is the coffee part. I know that's something in other districts when we go to MSBA that they do share that. I think it's a both and, combination of multiple things. And, you know, some of it is organically when we're in places, and some of it is just happening, like if there's an event automatically going on in the district. I think that we just have to be strategic in how we're going to do it and kind of plan and kind of lay it out. I know people are actively going to some local municipality meetings, the board calendar that we have that has things listed on that as well. So I think it's a combination. It's not necessarily going to be one thing that's going to make this start happening, and it's going to take some time. Unfortunately, it's going to take some time. Because we're all in different spaces. Some people are more at other schools and other spaces, more involved in sports, activities. So just kind of stepping out there. I know one of the first municipality meetings that I went to, I actually did not stand up and say, hey, I'm Lisa Glover-Jones, I'm with the Board of Education. But the next meeting that I went to, I did stand up at public comments and acknowledge who I was and stuff, and just basically said, you know, I'm here in this space just to try to partner with the municipality. If there's questions that you have, concerns that you have, then please reach out to us. So I think some of that, creating a space of vulnerability in the time frame. I think the PTO meetings may be a little bit more challenging for us who don't necessarily have the ones directly in the schools anymore. But the ones that do, you know, sometimes that's a balance too, because you're like in there a space of like, ooh, well, do I really want to be here and say that at that moment in time? Because like, oh, this is coming, or do I just want to be here and just be the parent here? So is there any one strategy that you all think that we need to start like right now?
Well, I do like the idea of like picking a percentage of where we want to grow to. And I don't like 3, but 10 makes me like, okay,
in a year?
Like 5.
So 10 would give us a lot.
I was like, 10's too much, 3's too little. I think 5 would be a good. So, I mean, personally, if we were going to pick something, I would say 5% to make a goal. And then I heard you say that further down in the presentation, you're going to have a way for us to keep track of things that we're participating in.
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to the Good to Great book and the big, hairy, audacious goals, you know, like sort of thing in terms of that. So it's like, you know, you just make whatever you're most comfortable with is like sort of your stretch goal in terms of the communication. But I think in terms of like the consistency with the touches, I think consistency is like the key of building that momentum within the community. And so I think to make sure that you have consistent touches over time, and you know, just like Lisa said, just go to the meetings and introduce yourself. I think is as powerful as that. And I think just even Mary Little being here tonight in our meeting, just introducing himself to the board, is a very powerful connection. And I think that it sounds like there's other things sort of in the pipeline too, with like the R&I that will be able to make those great connections with our community as well. So, but thanks for your feedback, and I'll update the information I can provide to Dr. Kilbride as well. So looking at the strategies that we had talked about before, like I said, and we've sort of talked about these several times, we're attending local community events, increased participation in like our school, like our concerts and district events, increased participation in local municipal meetings, even going to something as simple as like the concerts in the park and just being there, being part of the community. And then tracking attendance and feedback form, which I'll have in just a second. I feel like I'm building up a feedback form big time right now. So also telling your story. So there's a couple of different ways to do that, because you can share it on your own personal social media pages, which is really powerful with your community connections, but you can also share your photos with us, and then we can sort of build that and tell the story from the district level as well. And so it's very important if you're at events to take pictures. I know it seems like it's a little bit like almost like overkill to be like, hey, I'm here and I'm excited to meet you and I'm taking a picture of myself, but it really does help like over time, and like being able to get the word out about all the great work that you're doing in the district and in the community. And then we'll gather annual feedback from our district survey, which actually our district survey will be coming out on October 23rd through, I think, November 5th. And so we'll have that data that we'll share with you in December. So this is just a great example of board community outreach. I just wanted to share with you something really simple. That we had the Co-Care Food Pantry where we met with our local elected officials on June 1st. And so just wanted to share a couple of photos. Those are just great photos to share from those events. I feel like that I've kind of gone over these a couple of times, but in terms of like the data, but this is the implementation part of our RPI project. And so really taking a look at going to those community events and meetings, commit to attending a certain number of events, or setting parameters for board involvement, which would be great with the 5% increase if you would like to be able to go that way. And then facilitate two-way communication with all stakeholders. I really believe to be a great communicator, you also have to be a really good listener. So I think it's okay to go to those community events, be there, be present, listen, so you sort of know what's happening within the community. It's like I said, it's that consistency over time that really helps with our communications efforts. It's not going to be just going to one meeting. It's going to be a consistent approach over time, where we're we're meeting with our community and we're just getting to know like other members of our community and other municipal officials. So here it is. It's the goal tracking form. So our thought with this is that we would include this in the Friday memo every week, as long as it's okay with Dr. Kilbride and Dick Linda, with a note and a link to this form. And we tried to make it really, really simple. It's kind of hard to see. The resolution looks really low, but we can plan on sharing this if it's okay on Friday, October 20th. We've got it all ready to go, but there's a drop down with all of the names. It's really simple. You can also like track what type of meeting you attended, when the meeting was, and then if you want to put any special notes in, and there's also an area where you can add photos. And so on a weekly basis, I'll go in and check this form, just sort of keep a tally of how many events, and then I'll report that back to Dr. Kilbride, and if he wants to share that with the board, in terms of his communication with the board, we can do that as well, and on a predetermined basis, however we would like to do that. But ultimately, the measurable will be like increasing the job performance in the rating survey for the Board of Education by going through all this. Do you have any questions about the form or anything like that? It should be really, really simple in terms of like its layout. It should, if you go to an event, like legitimately, I hope that it will take you less than like 1 minute when you get back. Unless it's like a really detailed like event or you met somebody or something like that that you wanted to include in there, or if you needed to upload a photo. But really it's just a drop down and a checkbox of what kind of meeting it was, and then a date, and then just including any other pertinent information about the event. We'll track that and then keep track of that, and then we'll sort of compare how many events you've attended and sort of what the interaction was with our community. And then we'll take a look at the rating and see how those sort of compare after we do this work for like a long-term consistent basis. So. And then the final part is the evaluation. And so we talked about the E and R pie. So we'll track your the process, the information you put into that in the form. And then we'll track at the end of the year the annual survey. So I feel like it all sort of ties in together, like it overlaps a little bit. The last thing I wanted to share with you are the key messages. Our story is so easy to tell. We have so many great things. You could pick 5 stories from our meeting tonight to be able to tell in the community tomorrow, and without even having to think about it. You know, a national champion, we've got award-winning student journalists, we've got amazing junior ROTC. So all of those can be that 5-minute elevator pitch just to talk about our district and tell the good news and everything that's happening in our district. So it's really, it's not anything that's like overly complicated. It's just really a matter of like just being out in our community, being consistent, and sharing the great things that are happening within our district. So I'm open to any questions if you have any questions.
Doug, do you house the calendar of all the events or things that you know are coming up somewhere?
I keep track of, I have like a list, but no, I don't have I have a master list of all the events that are happening. And I think that I share those with DeQuinda for the calendar and everything like that. But I can create an image, I have like a master list of different things, so we could keep like an ongoing like Google Doc for that information as well.
Okay.
So, cool. Well, thank you. Thanks for your. Thank you.
DeQuinda doing all that, put on our calendars is a great help to work toward this goal. There's a lot there to do.
So we will move on to 5.3, enrollment and class size.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
So reviewing our vision, we're going to talk about student and staff population as well as demographics and what our teaching and classrooms look like with our staff. With our mission, we're trying to make sure we have supportive environments, and we're also going to look at trends to make sure we're meeting the needs of our groups of students. And again, we're going to look at our resources, our most important resources, our students and our teachers to see if we are where we need to be. So looking at the enrollment report, the October count is what we always refer to when we're talking about how many students are in the seats that last Wednesday in September. So this is the information that the state looks at each year, because we have time built in, because a lot of students are on our rosters but do not show, and we have time then to try to locate them or identify, have they moved to another school, or are they just not starting school yet. So looking at our ethnicity, this has been a significant change over the years, and some notes that I want you to take here is that when we look at our black population, it has remained pretty much the same as the previous year. Same thing for our multiracial students, but we saw an increase from last year of about 3.6% with our Hispanic students and a decrease of about 3% with our white students. So as we look at this is where we look at too, what are the building trends look like? Do we have the right resources and supports in place to meet the needs of our students? An example would be when we look at buildings. Right now, Marion is 40% Hispanic. So we want to make sure that we have employees who are also Spanish speaking able to greet the families and to meet the needs of the students. That's in all of our buildings, but Marion has seen an increase to 40% Hispanic. And this slide is I think a good one to look at, because it just shows you how diverse Ritenour is and how we do not reflect the state look at all. The data from the state is always a year behind, but this is where we are today with the Ritenour comparison compared to the state. And I don't think the state has changed too much. I can't imagine that it has changed too much. So I think this will probably remain pretty similar. Looking at the enrollment summary, we have about 81% of our students who remained from last year. We also look at where did those students go, or where are they coming from. So when you think about first-time enrollment, that's typically going to be students who start kindergarten or the SECE, and that's been at about 6.7%. That remains pretty stable. But we also want to look at, are we getting a slight increase from out of the country? And I think you're going to see that when we look at our EL population as well, that we have seen an increase. And these numbers change. Remember, this was that September count. So each month, each week, we still see students enrolling and the numbers change. Looking at our district enrollment, this is not including SECE. So we're at about 6,354. We're about at the 1920 level, which is what we wanted to see, because we did drop during that time coming back from the pandemic. So this is interesting too, because this has a lot to do with the redistricting and how some of our building populations have changed. I pulled this up today and there weren't any major differences. So it's pretty similar, but some things I want you to look at here. You can see Ritenour High School looks extremely high, but that also includes the IWC, it includes Husky Academy, ACE. So that number is going to be a little bit higher, but it's still bigger than the year before. When you look at increases, so Booter increased by 32 students, which is still not one of our higher, it's one of our lower students with our schools with enrollment, but they increased by 32 students. That's a lot of students. That's over a classroom when you think about that change in a building. The largest decrease was at Hake Middle School. So you can see they lost over 100 students at Hake, but the area where we saw an increase too was over at Ritenour Middle with about 30 students, but there is a pretty big gap there between the middle schools right now with the number of students. And if you look at the difference between Marvin and Iveland, there's about 123 student difference there. So when we talk about how do we look at resources, that's an area where we do need to look. How are we positioning staff, and are we meeting the needs of all the students there? So this is an area I know Mike talked about at the work session too, the SECE numbers. So we're at 204. And what I think we should be really proud of here with the free early childhood education and the enrollment lottery process, we really resemble the district with our ethnicity. We have about 43% black students there, 30% Hispanic, 13% multi, and about 23% white. And that is a huge change from what it was when it was being, when people were paying to go there. Kindergarten enrollment. This is something we do worry about because we see people waiting to enroll students for kindergarten. So we are down again, and we had some real concerns at the beginning of the school year because where were the children? Every day we were looking at the numbers, and the numbers were not going up at all. But we have found that a lot of our parents are waiting until maybe the week before school starts to enroll their kindergartners, or waiting until after school starts to enroll their kindergartners. So this is an area of opportunity. We're not sure why, but it does affect how many kids are they going to have in those classrooms, and what teachers are we going to pull over there. Kindergarten enrollment is going down. Not sure why. And this is just looking at the grade level enrollments. When I compared it to the year before, the largest increases from last year were in the 4th grade and 10th grade. So I looked at those 3rd grade numbers, and 4th grade was a jump, and then from our 9th to 10th grade, we saw another jump as well. But right now in elementary, 4th grade is our highest, and in the high school, 9th grade is our highest with 533. Homeschool is another one where we really cannot get an accurate number right now. The state does not require people to report whether or not they are homeschooling their students. So the 11 that we have here are parents that have been in the district or who reached out and said, hey, how do I homeschool my child? What do I need to do? And we say, oh, can you give us a form so we have documentation on file? But this year we had 11 families that reached out. But I'm assuming that number is much higher in the district. And another area where we're not completely sure how many of our students are receiving MOCAP, based on information from Dr. Stewart, they no longer have to report to us if they are in MOCAP, but we know through our own program that we had 13 students in MOCAP. And that is that online program through the state. ELL enrollment is another area that continues to grow. If you look at the numbers in green, those are increases from the year before with our students who are receiving English language learner services. And this does include students who are being monitored. So we had to scramble recently because we were not anticipating so many additional students, English learners at Marvin and Booter. So both of those buildings had 2 EL teachers, and if you look at those numbers, that's a lot of students to serve with 2 teachers who are English language learner teachers. Ritenour High School has 278 students. That's a large number of EL students. One of the areas that we really look at are who are those long-term English learners. So as a district for our EL department, all of our buildings, we need to look at who are those students who are in receiving EL services for 5 to 7 years or even longer than that because they've been in there too long. So is there some type of academic deficit or something else that we need to look at because that's too many years for them to be in the services. So again, opportunity for us. Looking at languages in Ritenour, we have over 29 languages. This is actually, Spanish is our, at least for English first, but then Spanish. We do have Vietnamese, Arabic, French, and Swahili were our top ones. But if you look at Vietnamese, Arabic, French, and Swahili, there are maybe 5, 7, 9 people who speak those languages. Ritenour is mainly English and Spanish. So when you describe the district, we have a lot of different languages and dialects, but really the majority English, Spanish. Looking at our immigrant students, these are students who have not been attending one or more schools for more than 3 years. So brand new to the country in the past 3 years. DESE looks at this information, the feds look at this information. One of the things I want you to see is that our immigrant students, or our new students pretty much to the country, that number really keeps increasing. That tells us we have a lot of newcomers in our school district who are going to just be learning English or at that very low level of having language proficiency.
Julie, can I ask,
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
No.
can I ask you a quick question? So on that number, is that, like, the 269 is a part of, could be a part of that 362? You said 3 years? Sorry, I was just trying to or is that 362 brand new immigrant?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but some of them could have been here last year because it's
Okay.
that 3-year period. You're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to
Yep.
understand. Thank you, sorry.
Yep. Then looking at McKinney-Vento, and these are the students who are unhoused, and what we want to look at here is how does that number increase? This is the September count. Last year, at the end of the year, we had 434 students that qualified under McKinney-Vento. So you can see at the beginning of the year, we had 327, end of the year was 434. So that number typically increases throughout the year. Today's number was already 332. I did this report about a week ago. So that just shows you that we have a lot of families who are either doubled up or moving into a hotel, or living in hotels, motels, or shelters.
Julie, what is unaccompanied youth?
An unaccompanied youth is a child who is no longer in the physical custody of a parent. So let's say Mike is my father, because he's much older than me. And so Mike and I, as a child, we get into a dispute, and he says, Julie, you're out of here. And I am no longer living with him. I might be living over at Lisa's house. I am now unaccompanied because I am not in his, and Lisa may be my caregiver, or Lisa may say, hey, you can stay here for 3-4 nights, and then you're going over to somebody else's house. So we have, at this point, 137 unaccompanied youth. Okay, and then looking at foster care, this is...
Sorry, one
Sure.
more question about unaccompanied youth. Do each of our unaccompanied youth students have a social worker? Yeah.
So with our students in foster care, we have 41 students right now in foster care. This has been another area of concern because Children's Division is short-staffed, and now at this point, St. Charles is stepping in to help St. Louis County with some of our students in foster care, but we often are now getting students in foster care that we don't know are in foster care because people will just bring them in and enroll them. So this number could be a little bit off because the process is not being followed countywide. So just for a summary, we know that our enrollment in the district is higher than the previous year. We continue to see a decrease in kindergarten enrollment, and we don't know why. We have a lot of students in grades 9 and 10. Our lowest number is in kindergarten. Our elementary ranges are very different from Iveland to Marvin. ELL enrollment continues to increase. We are a very diverse school district. And we also continue to see unhoused students and students who do get, are in foster care, unfortunately.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you some of the HR objectives as it relates to class size. So when we consider all of the enrollment data that Julie just shared with us, what does it look like in terms of the class size, considering the number of staff we have and the number of students we have? You can see some of our objectives for the HR department to ensure supportive environments that enable every student to think critically, solve problems, and develop knowledge and skills necessary for success in our diverse global society, which requires adequate class sizes so our teachers can meet their needs, to ensure all students are served by highly qualified teachers, and that our class sizes adhere to the Missouri School Improvement Standards and guidelines. Just to review those guidelines with you, the state provides us a recommended standard, which you can see is somewhat lower than the minimum standard. So what I'm going to share with you by level tonight are the percentages and the number of classes that meet the recommended standard and the number that meet the minimum standard. Also, as a reminder, PE and performing arts do allow that number to exceed the minimum standard as long as there is adequate space. And our gym spaces and our performing arts spaces are much larger, so we do have from time to time classes that exceed that minimum standard. So looking at our elementary, all classes at the elementary level, 67% of them meet that recommended standard, which again, just as a reminder, that recommended standard is that lower standard by grade level, and I'll get into more detail here in a moment. That's an increase of 7% compared to the year before, so generally our class sizes have gotten smaller at the elementary level by 7%. The middle school level, you can see at Hake Middle School, 95% of all classes meet that state recommended level, and 82% of all Ritenour Middle School classes meet the state recommended level. Both are an increase of 8% compared to the year before. So generally, middle school class sizes have decreased compared to the year before. And then looking at the high school has 46% of all classes. That's actually a typo, it's 31%, which I think you'll see on your screen, 31% of all classes. That's a decline of 31%. So generally, class sizes at the high school have increased. As we know, the high school made a schedule change last year to this year. If you recall, they knew that their class sizes were going to increase when they made the schedule change from 7 classes to 8 classes, and they were trying to address adequate plan time for teachers. We really were in situations where we did not have adequate plan time for teachers the previous year. We do now, and with some increased students, as Ms. Hahn reported, resulted in larger class sizes at the high school. To get into the details of our elementary schools, you can see fairly high percentages at each elementary school for meeting that recommended standard level, with the exception of Weiland Elementary. Weiland Elementary School only has 38% of their classes meeting the recommended standard. We do have an additional teacher at Weiland Elementary School helping to provide small group instruction who's not assigned to a class to increase the student to teacher interaction ratio, but to help address those class sizes that tend to be larger at the first grade and the third grade at Weiland Elementary. At Hake Middle School, you can see their core classes have really exceptional class sizes. You can see an increase in the number of social studies classes at Hake Middle, and you'll see that at Ritenour Middle. I just want to remind the board that at the middle school level, gifted education is provided in social studies. So you'll see an increase in sections there, which have a positive impact on the class sizes for social studies at the middle school level. And with the elective courses at the middle school, again, very strong class sizes and percentages meeting the recommended standard. World languages at 67% is the lowest content area regarding recommended standard. Overall, 95% of all classes at Hayes Middle School meeting that recommended standard, which is an increase from 8% compared to the year before. Looking at Ritenour Middle School, again, you'll see social studies having a higher percentage of classes meeting that recommended standard, again, due to the additional sections from gifted education. 72%, 73% for the others meeting the recommended standard. And looking at the electives at Ritenour Middle School, really ranging from 72 to 100% having recommended standard levels of class sizes, an increase of 8% as stated before, so 82% of all classes at Ritenour Middle School meeting the state recommended level. When we look at Ritenour High School, you'll see compared to our middle school and middle schools and elementary schools, you'll see a lower percentage of classes meeting that recommended standard, which means, as you can see, more sections are meeting the standard. They're still meeting the state standard, they're just not meeting that recommended standard. Looking at the electives, you'll see that I included that bottom category for the electives, which includes a new course at the high school, which is PAC Time, which is an advisory course, and they have a curriculum for that course, as well as the Student Success Program and the Recovery Lab. So you'll see that they range anywhere from 10% meeting the recommended standard in art. So art class sizes are fairly high this year compared to just ranging all the way to 100% of JROTC and ELL. And the ELL numbers meeting recommended class sizes is somewhat ambiguous because the state does not provide a specific class size for ELL. We work to try to lower those numbers. As Han shared, they have a large number of EL students at the high school. We'll continue to look for some TA support to help meet their needs as those numbers are growing.
I say it's 1 to 5, but Dwight and Mike disagree with me.
Overall, you'll see, again, as I mentioned before, the reduction in the number of sections at the high school meeting the recommended level is 31% reduction from the year before. So 46% of the high school classes meet that recommended standard. And as I mentioned before, you can see music and PE have sections that are above 33, which is that considered like that maximum number at the high school is 33 in a class. So there's 11 sections that are above 33 in a class. In summary, 100% of elementary classes and secondary classes meet the state standard. There are many places that struggle to even meet the state standard. We're meeting the state standard in all courses. 100% K to 12 of all classes. Before I was speaking of core classes. When you consider all classes, we're meeting the state standard considering the PE and performing arts allowance. And then 64% of all classes are meeting the recommended standard of the state. We'll continue to monitor class size trends, as well as consider budgetary constraints and make adjustments as we can. I'm open to any questions or comments you may have.
So I have a couple of questions. Kind of going back to the kindergarten concern of enrollment. So what are we doing to partner or market to our early child care centers, daycare centers outside of the district, as well as like faith-based organizations to market to them about getting the students enrolled in school for kindergarten?
So that's a good question, and we work closely with the Early Childhood Center and also parents as teachers. So that's one of the tasks that Mike Aiken takes on as parents as teachers, to reach out to all the daycare centers and some of the other schools prior to the kindergarten kickoff to talk about the schools we can get all of our early childhood students to kindergarten. The students there are not a concern. It's how do we get the ones that are either new to the community or at some of the daycares? Yeah, we're reaching out, but I'm sure we could always do a better job, Lisa.
Because I even think about like some of the faith-based organizations that have daycares or like after-school programs and things of that nature. But I just think that there may be some missed opportunities, because we also, like last week, we had our PAT presentation, and we see the numbers are low there as well. So if that's where we're putting our marketing at, and kind of relying upon that, we're gonna continue to see some, we're gonna continue to see some drops. So I think we'll have to be a little bit more creative. And where are the families? I mean, I don't want to seem like a stalker, but should we be going to the parks? Like, I mean, should we send out to the parks, posting things at the parks, you know, where families are at? But yeah, so we just may need to be creative in that. The other question I had too, as we're seeing this increase in classroom sizes at the high school level, what, if any, supports are we putting in place, or have we identified at this point in time that there's a need for some additional supports because we're seeing this larger classroom sizes at the high school level?
One of the things we did right before the school year began, as Dr. Green was noticing increases in enrollment, and we actually had an FTE we were struggling to fill in the month of August. We were actually able to add a teacher based on a closure of a local school that closed after the school year started. So we were able to add an ELA teacher. That was one thing we were able to do. We actually reached out to the principal on the day that the school was announced that it was closing, and really started to make contact with all the staff members to see if there were some we could bring over to Ritenour High School to support. We were lucky to find one. Dr. Green worked with that teacher to help really in student credit recovery programs, as well as adding more sections in that PAC coursework. Right now, we're in a state where there's really no one available. People who are in the job market now, typically there aren't, during this time of year, there are people not available. We continue to look for tutors, because we had at times had tutoring positions posted, and Dr. Green has made some contacts with some people that may be interested in tutoring. There's really the number of applicants available are limited. We do not have, I would say, when I talk to teachers and the NEA and administration at Ritenour High School, we're not feeling an outcry of the class sizes are unmanageable. That's not the story that I'm getting. People feel like the class sizes are higher, but not that they're not unmanageable, and they're actually at a level that they expected and predicted based on their conversations last year when they were going through their schedule change. If the budget can support and there are quality applicants available, there's a job fair at UMSL over fall break that I'll be attending, looking for quality applicants, and those will be graduates who will be graduating in December at UMSL. There'll be every other local district there also ready to offer jobs on the spot. So we're looking forward to that as a possible opportunity if there's the right candidates.
So Mike, you said the candidates are not out there. We have some teaching positions posted, and there's no applicants.
Correct. Knowing the continued growth in the EL, we've had an EL position posted, and we continue to repost every 2 to 3 weeks. You know, the job postings are kind of like the housing market, where if somebody sees a job has been posted for months, they shy away from it. Jobs that are recently posted and updated more regularly, people tend to apply more to. We also try to keep ELTA positions posted. And you'll see tonight we do have an additional ELTA on personnel report to assist at the elementary level with the growth. We continue to look for quality candidates. And I would say we're seeing a similar trend with our support staff, where the number of applicants has really diminished drastically since the school year started. The people who are in the job market now, we have lots of, I don't want to use ambiguous terms like that, but it's not uncommon for people to apply and then not respond, or halfway respond, and we set up interviews, we talk to them over the phone, and then they don't show up for the interviews, or then they fail to call us back after we went through that several times with candidates. And that seems to be the nature of the job market after the school year starts, unfortunately.
Do we still offer, and maybe we should, if we don't, we should, a stipend for those that are taking on the challenge of learning a second language?
So for those who assess that they're proficient in Spanish, we do provide a $1,000 stipend for those staff members, and we've got quite a few staff members that take advantage of that and really benefit our students and parents.
So could we set up classes for them on our campuses?
And we've done that, and I know that Evelyn has coordinated some of the classes for different groups. And there's always an interest. I think part of the challenge is time for a lot of people. But yeah, we have that.
I mean, from bus drivers to the cafeteria workers to the teachers to everyone. I mean, I think every employee that we have that has student contact, which is everyone, would really benefit from that. If we could offer it on campus during a time where it's easily accessible to our staff, I think that would go a long way to growing our own teachers. Why can't we look at it at every aspect?
There's some dynamics changing even in the world of student teaching. It's not uncommon for student teachers to be offered a position during their first month of student teaching, whether or not the district has an opening. There are districts talking about paying student teachers just to come to their district. I mean, it's getting highly competitive out there. Hancock, a few others are discussing that option. It's becoming more common on the Kansas City side. The job market for teachers is becoming pretty intense, I would say.
We've also had experiences where we've had non-certified staff that are being hired to certified, not being in a specific program, non-certified people being hired to certified positions just to fill the space.
Yes, and we've lost support staff who've been hired by other districts to teach on teacher contracts without teaching credentials or without bachelor's degrees. That's how difficult the market is right now.
And there's a way to go about that, like our Step Up to Teaching program is a way to go about that. You get in the alternative path, which is accepted.
Yes.
But other districts are going
There's
down.
a couple of universities, UMSL and SLU, that are starting to try to create new programs for individuals with associate's degrees, which is promising, because prior to really right now, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you have to start at square one. So they're trying to partner with some programs with the federal government to be considered teacher apprentices. And if you've got 60 credit hours, and trying to create a pathway for individuals who are support staff members to become teachers over a number of years, which I think is really promising. We're looking forward to that. We've got right now, got about 7 to 8 individuals in the district who are support staff members who are interested in becoming teachers with varied levels of college experience, and just trying to partner with the right university that meets their needs is really what we're looking to try to do.
I just had one other thought, as I was thinking about this. When I was in dental school, we worked with a lot of different countries in Central America and Guatemala, and their educational system a lot of times starts at first grade and not kindergarten. And it might be a good idea maybe to speak to the communities, like the city of Oberlin or St. Anne. I don't know how you can find out which of these families are coming in that are only Spanish speaking. They may not be aware that they start at kindergarten. They might be thinking they start at first grade.
We do an interview with all the newcomer families because,
Good. Yeah, because there is a little bit of difference. Right. We do kindergarten, but not everybody does.
Right.
You know, we talked briefly about in your part of the report on the student levels at all the schools, and how they're looking this year at Blue and Kratz and Wyoming and everything. It would be worth our while, since now we redistrict and we have these numbers, for maybe at a work session for us to look at and see how successful we have been in this redistricting and balancing out these numbers.
So we can do that. We also know that we're still in that 2-year window where people can continue at home school. So we could do that work, and we could also capture that number of those that chose to stay.
And we are seeing a small number of families that chose to stay at the building they were in, asking now to go to the other one because of transportation.
Right.
Yeah. And we're allowing that.
I just had two, like suggestions, I think, or questions too, of how we're partnering maybe with like the adult education program. Like I know we think of Grow Your Own program through the high school, but how can we implement something like that with the adult learners? That might be an interesting or like a good pipeline, you know, a lot of the students, at least from what I've heard and what's been shared at meetings, like students that come from there are excited to continue on their education, you know, are thinking of different career paths, and so maybe becoming an educator could be a path for somebody.
Yeah, they may want, I mean, I haven't thought about that, but they may want to start subbing to see how that may be, and you really only need to sub past the state. It's a 20-hour course, which we can support them in doing, so that's a good idea. We haven't approached that yet. That's a good idea.
And the second was going to be, I don't know if there's a question, I can't remember when I've done my registration form, but if there's a question or something for families who are enrolling their, you know, older students, if they have a younger student, if they do have a kindergartner, soon to be kindergartner, I don't know if there's a question
There is.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I was going to say that could just like, one, that's good data for us to have, so then to like stalk later.
But I'll have to look at
you
that, that's a good
mentioned-
question, because I know it's on the form that is required by, if you are unhoused, but I don't know if it's on the regular one, I'm gonna double check that tomorrow.
Yeah, just because that would be a good prompt, you know, they don't have to register there in that moment, but for you just to know, oh yeah, I do. Okay, great, now we have that information and we can follow up and say, we've seen you haven't registered, like, is this, are you wanting to
That's a
enroll a
good idea.
student? So, might be something to do also like in between in that summertime, you know, when people aren't, I know we also get an influx, so might help to like, my words aren't working anymore, but you know what I mean? Kind of space those out a little bit. That's all.
Other questions?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to 5.4, personnel recommendations. Dr. Michael James.
Members, I'm here to present on the personnel report items 1 through 26. I'm open to any questions or concerns you may have.
I got a question. So I'm looking at it, number 1 and number 2. So I was just curious, and I went back and looked. We had 1 in June, 1 in July, 2 in August, 1 in September, and now 2 here. Do we have an issue at that school? It seems like we're rotating through that position quite frequently at that particular building.
I don't believe we have an issue at that school. I think that related to a few staff, a few that you'll see on that, you know, first 1 through 5, we are seeing some trends in would say, staff conduct with staff that we're trying to work through and continue to try to work through. That has been a recent trend where staff are having low tolerance for their colleagues and treating them very poorly, and not or refusing to take directions from a supervisor and responding extremely aggressively. That has been the trend that we've noticed.
Are we on a search for replacement for number 5?
So right now, there was an assistant that they moved into the lead role.
No connection between the two?
None that would impact their performance.
Okay.
So with number 3, that's one of the additions that we try to put in place to assist.
Yeah. So we're looking, we're We really are down 3 total across the whole district, considering number 4 there. So we need 2 at Ritenour High School and 1 there. Yeah.
Madam President, I move that we accept the recommendations 1 through 26 as presented.
Second. Mrs. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mrs. Garden?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Alvin Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez Spinblock?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Thank you. We'll move on to 5.5, board member comments. Anyone have any comments they would like to share?
Briefly, I got to spend some time up at the high school with the amped classrooms, and we gotta go up there and see the cool things they're doing. The banners that were, like the football sports banners and the softball and all those, so you got the students on it and everything. I just assumed that we had those made at a business. Yeah, the business is the AMP class in the high school. Those are awesome banners. And I got to spend some time with them twice so far. And some of the artwork and some of the things they're coming up with it's just wonderful. So I think we really need to as a board, as a group, go see the amazing things that we're doing and see how we can further support them. Because that's an awesome thing they got going down there.
You want to share the project they're working on?
Okay?
Sure.
You guys heard me talk about the nonprofit I started. And to be legitimate and have letterhead and everything, you need a logo and you need all that. They're developing that for us. This is I met with them the other day and I said, this is a real life, you're going to see out on the streets project. This isn't just get a grade and hit the delete button, it goes away. You're going to see this on t-shirts, you're going to see this on letterhead, you're going to see this on business cards. This is going to be a community thing. And when we start to work on a house, we're going to have them make up t-shirts. And all it's going to have is the logo on it. There won't be any words on it. So that you'll start seeing the logo in our community. To where when you see that, you'll say, I know what that is about. And there's a group of 6 or 8 kids that are taking this on. And I'm going to go back and see it again next Wednesday and see their finished product. But I had to stop looking at all the suggestions they had because they had come up with so many ideas. And we settled on one, and they're going to perfect that and hone that down, and I'll go back and see it. So you'll be seeing that as it comes out to the community. So it's awesome. It's just incredible what they're doing down there. But this is something that they acknowledge and they see. This is something for their neighbors. This is something for the people that we can help out.
I have 2 things. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Little and Mr. Crowder for staying this whole time because I've had this thought in my head since they talked about the internship. But I wanted to ask, do we work with Overland for work-based learning?
So Mayor Little reached out to me last summer about this summer opportunity to work on the transportation crew. And I don't believe that we had Ritenour students take advantage of it at that point. Now that this new program is coming together, we'll start through work-based learning. At this point, we're not placing kids with the city of Overland, but now with this new targeted program, it really opens it up. With the relationship we have with the city of Overland and through the connection with Mr. Crowder, when Anglo-Kernan has 2 vacancies at the service desk, the first place they reach out to is Ritenour High School, where students can get in paid positions with the goal that those turn into long-term positions through work-based learning, through Miss Kate Autoboter, that position was pitched to the kids. But I think we can formalize the relationship with Oberlin now that there's a lot of structure to it.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just thinking about that because I was like, well, you know, if we can get kids in there more than just the summer, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Because they could look at that as their job after. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Twas the Night Before Christmas. It's October already, and so I will be reaching out to Julie and the counselors to ask if we can get our list started of our students. And so Penny was just asking me, she said, I need to clean out some books. I said, send them my way, I'll come pick them up. So, you know, books, hats, scarves, and then of course we do toys. And I still have a closet that has some stuff in it, and so just continuing to build that up. So, thank you.
I just wanted to quickly share about my visit to the International Welcome Center last Thursday. Martha Bignones put on an amazing Latinx Heritage Celebration kickoff. I think there were 7 total guest speakers, and I was one of them, and we got to rotate to the different classrooms and speak to the students, and it was just wonderful. Everything was just great. I mean, they couldn't get us out of there. There was a point where it was like, you don't have to go home, but you gotta get out of here, you know. And it was just fantastic. I thought, heard lots of really challenging stories from the students as well that I've just been processing and thinking how and what our responsibility is as a board. If our mission statement truly is every student, you know, what is our responsibility in some of these kind of structural things that our students are facing right now. But I just wanted to share that I did get pictures, so I'm excited for the Google form. I'll submit those pictures. But I really just want us to be thinking about expanding that area. I mean, the classrooms were so tight. And so yeah, just wanted to put that out there that we've definitely outgrown that space. I mean, I think we know that, but really thinking about.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, no, it's incredible.
It was great.
But it was a great time.
I feel like when I first was on the board, we were like, ooh, 13. But I think it was more than that, but now it's just amazing.
To hear more and more that Ritenour has become a destination area for the immigrants coming to our country is wonderful to hear. Diversity is the foundation of any good organization.
And also a leader to help other school districts who are also trying to put things in place like that too.
I had a conversation with my daughter. She works in Ferguson, Florissant, and I said, you know, they're pushing their Spanish-speaking, not English-speaking kids right into the classrooms at the high school. And they're paying a stipend for the teachers to take on that challenge. She has a class where only 9 students speak English. Yeah, and my daughter speaks Petito Spanish. Okay, so she's learning Spanish every day. She teaches biology. And I said, well, you guys need an international welcome center like we have. She said, what's that? So guess what she and I are going to talk about this weekend? She can take that back to Ferguson, Florissant as well. So yeah, again, we have a room full of leaders here, leading the whole county in a way that they might not think about going.
So Vanessa, can I ask you a quick question about your visit? Was there, besides space, was there anything else you see as a need for them?
I mean, I think there are some material need, clothing, things like that. I have gone and taken some personal items, but even that, there's no space. Martha literally just keeps it in her office space, and that's not always the best place either. So even just having another area where we can hold some of those items there.
What about coats? Because if they're new
Coats,
to the
yeah.
country this year, they're probably going to get a shock in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Days.
Yeah, shoes, I know too, but, and these things I can coordinate with Martha to get like exact, because you know, shoes are, you want to make sure you get the right size, so I can maybe give you a list or, you know, have specific requests.
We have a space at the Husky Support Center, which is just that, we have the closet. And so that's where we'll be shuttling some of that equipment to the IWC as well as to the elementary schools.
Thank you, Ron.
Cool stuff.
We will move on to our consent agenda. So I am looking for, does anybody have any questions about anything in the consent agenda before? All right, looking for a motion.
I'd like to motion that we approve consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.9 as recommended.
Second.
Mrs. Lois?
Yes?
Mrs. Garden?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Alvin Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Eden?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez Benoit?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
I'd like to motion to adjourn. Sorry, did I jump again?
Second. Mrs. Lois?
Yes.
Mrs. Garden?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Alvin Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Eden?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez Benoit?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.